Hi, welcome to another episode of Making Sense of Politics with me, Kate Carruthers.
And me, Nancy Georges. Hello. We have a really
This
good app, Kate. We've I think this is going to be a really interesting one for people who may not even know what they didn't know about this topic this week
well,
or
you know,
about these stories.
in our last episode, we were talking a lot about media empires and stuff and media literacy, and I was like, actually, we never really explained that. So, this is a really good resource that's from an Australian resource that educates people about media literacy. So, it's Australian focused, and it's really talking about, the ability to critically engage with media as a citizen and how you need to think about approaching it responsibly so that you can not be led astray by some of the evil people that are out there who are creating media with the pure intent of leading us astray and getting us to think things that are wrong,
Yeah.
that are not truthful, and are not helpful.
And so that's most of media, really, isn't it? Or traditional media.
Well, there's some bits that are still good, but large swathes of the media now are very partisan, and we need to be able to identify it so that we can sort of inoculate ourselves against it.
Yeah.
So this website has a really good list of things that people need to do to be a media literate citizen, and I think it's really important that So it's this breaking it up into reflects, understands, uses, achieves. So thinking about your media use, thinking about how it was made, why was it made? What are
Mm.
they trying to encourage me to do? What are they trying to get me to think? Um, and then the understanding bit, thinking that media is an influencing thing. They don't call people influencers for no reason.
Yeah.
They're people who will try and get you to do things, and this is the very nature of media.
Yeah.
And understand that institutions that participate in media production are doing it for their own purposes. Some of them are partisan political, some of them are to make money, some of them are for other purposes, but they're doing it. And also to understand that people are creating media to construct versions of reality.
Yes.
In our
Yeah.
last episode, we were talking about Brian Henderson. You remember Brian Henderson on the
Right.
Nine
Oh,
News
yeah.
Network? And back in those days, there was a consensus reality.
Yeah.
Everybody in Australia watched the news.
Yes.
Every household at 6 p.m. turned on the local news. And we all watched the same news bulletins. And if you changed channels, which I used to do, nobody else ever did, because it was hard. You had to get up out of your chair and change channels back in the day. You kids don't understand the pain we had.
And it
But
wasn't easy. It wasn't a soft switch, was it, Kate? It was like, yeah.
yeah, but if you change channels in the middle of the news, you would go from one story that was presented fairly plainly to
Yeah.
the next channel. It would be presented in much the same way. So there wasn't this, we are
Very interesting.
constructing our own version of reality and reporting on it this way, and
Yeah.
the other ones are almost the total opposite. So that didn't exist back in those days. So we used to have a consensus media. Now the media has fragmented, and a lot of the media is very partisan. So we need to understand, and then thinking about how we can consume and critique media formats, and also to understand how media is put together and the techniques that they use to influence us.
Very, very important.
Yeah. So,
So, sorry. So, can I just, so on this one, you mentioned something last ep when we are talking about this that I think is even more important now is that there's generations of us who ha- don't have this. So, younger kids are getting taught it, but there's people that haven't done it. So, how do we get this sort of understanding and information out more? Is my question.
Oh, well, we're doing our bit by talking about this, providing the links and stuff, and we'll share more in future episodes because there's some really good frameworks to use
Yeah,
that we
great,
can bring into it. But I
great.
just think it's worth mentioning that people need to start to think about themselves as media literate citizens who need to find out who's
Don't
producing the media and what they want you to think rather than just blindly consuming it.
do not believe everything you hear or see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So newsroom. Here we go, folks. The US. The US is bonkers. Like it's just insane. Do not go there if you don't have to. That's all I'm going to say.
I just think it's so fascinating that this Charlie Kirk thing where they're planning to punish foreigners for laughing at the death of this guy who most of them have never even heard of. It's just fascinating.
And
And
most of them haven't heard of him. This is the thing. Like we've heard of him because we're in that space, but most people didn't know about him till he died.
I know, I know.
It's
This actually reminds me of a Nazi German thing. So there was this young Nazi follower called Horst Wessel, and he died and he became a martyr, and they set up this elaborate commemoration of him throughout the entire Nazi regime, where he was like revered as a great hero of the regime, and it kind of reminds me of that, and it's just a really weird echo that I'm perceiving with this Charlie Kirk thing, which is kind of creepy.
It's just it. Well, did you see Snake Eyes, the movie with Nicolas Cage from like 2012 or 2002? Have you
No.
seen that? So the guy was called Charlie Kirkland and he was shot in the neck in a
Oh no.
political. Yeah, it's so weird. I have to send you the link. I'll share the link. It's real. The whole thing is just bonkers. But I mean, and it was what happened to him was awful, and he's got two young children and such a young man, and he for whatever reason,
Oh, he
and
was a nasty piece of work.
oh well, sorry, I was going to say for whatever reason that this guy was chosen to kill, but yes, I was going to actually say he actually said after a school shooting, he said, oh well, if some people have to die so that we can hold on to our gun rights, so be it.
So,
So
out of
he
his own
died.
mouth.
Exactly. So I agree. And, to say, oh, if I saw a black female pilot, I think, is she there because of DEI? Am I going to fall out of the sky? I'm with you. I'm not a fan of him in Life or Death. And it was
Look,
awful
I
that happened.
he didn't deserve to die, but
And on the same day, there was a school shooting. And those kids weren't given the same respect, or children that die in schools are not given. So just if you don't know, they did like a national stadium event as his memorial. The Trump regime have lowered flags for him. It's
no,
exactly to Kate's
and
point, making
and
a
the
martyr of
the
him
question I have is his wife was at the funeral thing at the stadium. Where were his parents?
and
Where are
sister.
his parents? They were nowhere to be seen.
They
I
have said
find that
nothing.
fascinating.
Yeah, they have said nothing, his sister or his parents. And
Yeah.
she's very happy to be hosting his podcast and pushing new content. Her words, not my words. She was all smart. The whole thing is weird. But again, so I think they're trying to do this thing around, let's create all these stories and let's make, when something happens, let's blow it up, because they don't want to release the EP files. So the EP files. So, they're going to come out though. But yeah, good
Yeah.
luck,
Anyway,
US.
so I just think this is more evidence that the US is going completely bonkers.
And I
And
didn't know about the Horst Vessel. I must check. But it's the same
go
playbook,
Google
isn't
him.
it, Kate? Same playbook.
Yeah. So the Nazis even made a song. The Horst Wessel song was something that the Germans would march into war singing. So when they make the Charlie Kirk song, we'll know what to think.
No, please don't even put it out there. But people power, God love them. So yes, so Jim, do you want to talk about the Jimmy Kimmel Disney $43 billion loss?
Yeah, so much bleeding. And how many of those people will sign up now that they've saved that money?
But also people. So they fired him. Um, and they, with Stephen Colbert, they said, oh, it's because of ratings. They didn't even put that whole mask on this time. They just went, you spoke badly about. It was also about Kirk, right? He said
Yeah, it
something
was
about
Charlie
the.
Kirk.
Yeah, so he said something about Kirk. Then they went, oh, you were being terrible. Trump then said, yeah, I got him off the air. I have him so powerful. And then $40 billion worth, 40, $43 billion worth of Americans were not with, they cancelled trips to Disneyland, they stopped consuming Disney TV, they cancelled their subscriptions to Disney products. They basically ABC, they wrote to advertisers on ABC. Then of course they went, oh, wait, he's coming back. But I think it's something like 82% of people who've cancelled anything are not going back, Kate. They are
Yep.
not going back simply because it was done. And I think this is why I am hopeful that people, we for generations we've been trained not to protest or to protest or to protest. But I think people are starting to understand I have a voice, I have a way to show my displeasure and make change, even though at the moment everything is so scary and huge and out of control.
And I think this is one of our themes for this session is people power.
Yeah,
So we've got this great example in the US of people power and people voting with their wallets, which people listen to. As
absolutely.
now we see Jimmy Kimmel back on air.
Oh, oh, wait, and apparently the shareholders, is it the Disney shareholders or the ABC shareholders are suing Disney because they made a they lost their money because of a political move, not a business decision. So their
Yep.
duty of care as a company wasn't carried out.
I
That was
think
the
there's
cherry on the cake.
I think that kind of points to an interesting thing that's an interesting tension that's starting to emerge in the US
Yeah,
between the Trump regime, where they've done things like they've made Intel give the government a stake in the business and a seat on the board.
yeah,
TikTok, this new TikTok deal, there is a government seat on the board for the new US TikTok corporation.
yeah.
So there's this increasing blurring between the boundaries of corporations and the state in the US that I think is going to kind of break the US enterprise world as we've known it. Be really interesting to see what happens.
Well, Tim Cook taking the gold statue prize to give it to Trump. So many people then went, I'm never, like they literally smashed their iPhones or said, I'm never buying another iPhone. And there's a whole movement online saying you actually don't need the new phone. They should make sure that this keeps going. Like it's the backlash is swift. And it's clever, right? Like it's not, they're not going, I'll write a letter. They're actually giving people action steps. Yeah.
Look,
Watch this
you
space.
know, I've got a new Xiaomi phone, and the interface is amazing. Like it's a really nice phone.
Is it? I was wondering because I saw that somebody was telling me that that's a really good phone. They bought a BYD car, and how do you say it, Kate? Xiaomi.
Xiaomi,
I
yeah.
wasn't too sure how. And they bought a BYD, and they've got the phone, and they were like, no to Tesla, no to Apple. I was like, brilliant.
A lot of
It's,
people are buying Chinese cars, but I because a lot of people don't want to be bought into the Apple ecosystem, and and the Android interface was really horrible for many years,
mm,
but look, I bought one of the early Google phones,
mm,
and it was kind of annoying. But I got this Xiaomi as my backup phone for when I go to China and stuff, and it's a really nice interface. So they've solved a lot of their problems.
finally.
Yeah,
So our feckless friends,
the Democrats are so stupid.
it's just painful to watch, isn't it? They're just a disaster. Don't even Jeffries. Did you see what Jeffries did the other day?
No,
With Adams stepped down. The mayor of New York is not running for re-election.
yeah.
He's actually got criminal charges against him. The fact that he was even running is disgusting. But so he finally stepped down. He finally realized I'm not going to win. Let me go. I'm going to go. And Jeffries came out and went, "Oh, thanks, mate. He did such a great job. He's really given service to his country." And I thought to myself,
Feckless. They are feckless.
he's a criminal. He's admitted Trump. He's taken Trump's money to make things easier for Trump, and you're cheering him like disgusting, disgusting,
Well,
disgusting.
and
Do
this is
better.
hilarious. So the Democrats have refused to pass the budget bill,
Yeah.
and so they've gone into shutdown. And the Trump administration is now using taxpayer dollars to blame the Democrats on government websites. So this is an example. Um, so they've got on the website the radical left in Congress have shut down the government. So they're blaming the Democrats fair and square. Um, and
Caught my
it's
blood.
just more the Democrats are truly feckless. It's the only word to describe them.
I am so glad. I at one stage thought that they won't be doing the shutdown. I thought they were going to give in. So I'm actually glad that they didn't give in, because they were on the cards to do that too, right?
Well, like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. I think the real problem that the Democrats have is unlike in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada or the UK, they don't have the shadow ministry. So
Mm.
they don't
Mm.
have they
Yes.
don't have this idea of a loyal opposition.
Yeah.
And because they don't have the other government ready to go, they don't have the people that are matching the government roles, so the
Yes.
cabinet roles. And that's actually, I think, really problematic for them because they don't have somebody who's tagged, to mirror Trump, to mirror Hegseth, mirror, all of the players.
But I think it's important that they let this closure happen, because the last closure in Trump's first term, if they let the government close, I get it. It's a big deal for the government to close. Totally get it. But if they let the government close, then the story would have been, this is what the Republicans are doing. This is what Trump's government is choosing to
No, no,
do.
but the Republicans are spinning this, so it's their fault.
But that, so at least the Dems are now coming out saying, hang on a minute, you've got the presidency, you've got the upper house, you've got the lower house. We're nowhere in government. The shutdown is on you. It's not on us, which is true. They don't. Nobody wants to
Mm.
pass that big disgusting bill that stops healthcare for Americans, and then they do this. So this, the money that they're not spending, that they can't afford to give people healthcare, they're just spending $20 million on a ballroom. They're $20 million, $22 million to get all the generals out yesterday to that revolting presentation. It's crap, but I think they do need to let them. Do need to let it close and let these things happen, though, don't they? Because otherwise, they're bailing out the Republicans again.
Well, I think they need to let the Republicans do what the Republicans said they were going to do when they got elected.
Yeah.
Because, unless people see these policies in action, they're not going to understand the consequences of the vote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's exactly. They need to feel
I
the
would be
fire,
just
Scott.
going, sure, you voted for this, you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to feel the fire, because there was in Chicago last night. I don't know if you saw it, Kate. Something like a helicopter raid, trucks, helicopter. They jumped in via helicopters. Trucks came in. They emptied 30 apartments in one block, and they pulled out people, American citizens, children, naked children. They pulled them out onto the
Yeah.
street, and people were saying, the content creator who shared it said, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's not me, I don't care, they're just practicing on us, and they will come for you too. And I think that's so important, because you can see that's why change isn't happening. He said that at the Kate and I went and saw to the Is It Fascism Yet talk at Curious at the Sydney Opera House last weekend. And he said that, didn't he? He said the reason that people are prepared to lose their Medicaid and their Medicare coverage is that they don't want the three black families down the end of the road to have it. So they're willing to have it gone from them. And
Well,
it's also blatant.
the whole history of why US healthcare is the way it is to prevent black people getting healthcare.
Yeah.
So the reason that healthcare is tied to the employer is because if they had universal single payer healthcare like we have, then black people might get it, and they don't want that.
But all of this stuff needs to come out. All of this vile, disgusting stuff. The radical left, like it's so unpresidential, Kate. It's so unpresidential.
Well, he is very
Oh,
unpresidential.
so much.
But
But I love these
with
people.
our with our theme of popular resistance, this is all Gen Z. This is
Yeah,
all the young folks. So in August they started rising up in Nepal, and they were protesting against the what they've called nepo babies, so
yeah,
nepotism in politics, and it was basically driven by the big inequalities in their society, and they literally rampaged through the capital, and they deposed the government. They ran the prime minister out of town.
yeah.
They did an election on a Discord channel and chose this woman in that very patriarchal society to be the new prime minister. And she is now the new prime minister in Nepal, which is
Amazing, right?
astonishing. And
Amazing.
that then inspired a similar kind of uprising in Indonesia. And the kids are still on the streets in Indonesia. That one hasn't been finalised yet. And there's also Peruvian protests, which are anti-government, and it's basically Gen Z. And the same thing is happening in Morocco. So it's starting to spread, and it's all focused in on inequalities.
Yeah.
And the thing that we've both been banging on about from the very start with this podcast is that a lot of the problems that we're seeing in the world now are because of the increasing inequality between the rich and the poor, and
Yeah.
that yawning gulf between the two. And we all know that societies become really fragile when that gap gets so large. So we need to equalize, we need to redistribute. And Gen Z are taking it into their own hands, which is really fascinating to watch.
I'm so impressed. So impressed. Meanwhile, back at home, dodgy LNP at it again. This is just blatant, right? Again, this
Yeah.
is right in front of everybody. So I think the Climate 200, the community independents all shared a slide of the last 7 defense ministers all now work in US defense consulting roles, or they all work for defense companies.
Yeah.
Um,
They're all at the
so
orchestra.
they're all at the orchestra. So this whole idea of setting yourself up for a future job is already out there. But this, to me, the Plymouth Brethren Church, haven't they just had 3 ministers being charged with child SA charges?
Yep, yep. And they were out in force canvassing for the Liberal Party candidates in the last federal election. So many of them across the country. And the church has been major donors to the coalition. And they also made millions and millions on COVID contracts under Scott Morrison. So this is just as shonky can get.
And there's Greg
Anyway,
Hunt. Good job, Greg.
yeah,
Well
he's
done,
well
you.
named.
Kate
Very well named.
Carruthers. And now over to the UK.
Now, I thought the Labor Party conference in the UK was really interesting because Keir Starmer did pretty good pretty good speech.
Yep.
Um, he's identified the enemy, and the enemy is not the Conservatives. So he's not focused on the Tories. He's focused on reform. Now, the
Finally.
interesting question is, how many MPs do you think Reform have?
Next slide. Or are you going to tell us?
No. So they've got like 4.
Sorry. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
they've got 4, but he thinks they are his big enemy. He's probably not wrong, but it's really interesting. The Conservative Party are just a rump now, and I'm going to go on the record and say I'm predicting that the Conservatives will ally with Reform for the next election.
I agree. I think that's just a natural marriage, isn't it? But he has to start doing this from now, Kate, because all I hear from UK family members and friends are that they've had it with the two majors and they're just going to vote reform. Yes, I know that Farage was Brexit, and I know, but I'm still going to vote for reform, is
Yeah.
what everybody is saying.
Yeah, I know. I know. So they're
So that he
sleepwalking.
does
They're
need to attack.
sleepwalking into it. So he started the fight, but
Yeah,
you know, I kind of feel that he also is kind of feckless. And I've got the dictionary definition of feckless because it's a word that I've ended up using a lot in respect of um, Labor in the UK and the Democrats in the US. So I thought
yeah,
I would share the definition:
I love
weak
it.
in character and lacking determination, which I think is pretty apt.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because Starmer had a huge landslide victory, and he's literally done nothing with it.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
And
Could you
I think,
imagine what a smart government could have done from day one with that support?
well, or even, and somebody pointed this out recently, and I can't remember who it was, but saying he had the landslide, but he didn't have a mandate because he didn't go with a big policy agenda.
Yeah.
So they pointed out that Blair, when he won, had a huge mandate because he had a policy agenda and a landslide, and he was just going down his list, ticking things off.
Yeah.
Whereas Starmer has come in and is, basically doing things like, keeping the limit for benefits. Like, he's doing all this anti-Labor stuff that's upsetting all of his ministers. He's basically doing austerity light, which
Yes.
he came in saying, oh no, we need a change, and he's providing no change. So this is why those people are saying, let's give reform a try, because like they tried Labor and they're not doing anything.
The problem is reform will do even less. But yeah, Labor aren't even governing. They turn anyway. But
But
here's the numbers. It just I find this insane.
I was just thinking about it, and I pulled these together because I thought it was really interesting to think about the number of eligible voters in a country and the number of people who are members of a party who the party is trying to please.
Yeah.
So they're trying to please their members as well as a certain set of voters. So these are the numbers for the people. And I noticed that the reform numbers is claimed because there's no evidence for theirs.
Yeah.
The interesting one is the Greens. The Greens have literally been going up, and they're gonna get past the Tory party in the not too distant future. So I think that's interesting. But the UK has a voter base of 48 million, and those are the numbers for their parties. So 300,000 for Labor, 130,000 for Tory, 80,000 for Greens, and 234,000 claimed for Reform. So there are not many people as members of the parties who are setting the agendas that the parties are driving to. And I've done the same thing for Australia too. Just
Oh,
we'll come to that in a little bit.
yep.
But I wanted to mention the Greens because the Greens have had. If you can just go to the next slide, please.
Sorry, Bella.
So the Greens have had some really big numbers in membership in the last month or so. So, and I think it's down to this new leader. So Zach Polanski is the new leader of Labor. Um, and that's really interesting. And it's really interesting because Jeremy Corbyn has formed a new party too.
Mm,
So there's the risk that Labor's vote will start to splinter among those three groups.
yep.
So there's the Greens, the new thing that I can't remember, the Corbyn thing that I can't remember what they're called, and
Yeah.
Labor.
I can't either.
So
Yeah.
there's the risk that their vote will get splintered, and then the Conservative vote will go to Reform,
Yep.
and that's a real risk for the UK. Um, but I think Zach Polanski is really interesting, and he may be able to get some cut through. If you go to the next slide, there's a
It's,
picture of him, and that's what he looks like.
hey, Zach. It's interesting because green membership is going up in Australia as well.
Mm. So I think
So
Labor on both fronts, Australia and UK, has kind of disappointed its kind of core constituency. So they're looking for an alternative.
Yeah.
So, and the thing I think here is Keir Starmer does not want to change the status quo. He thinks everything's okay. It just needs a little tweak and we'll be fine. The voters clearly want some kind of substantive change.
Which is why they got in, right? After 11 or 12 years of 13 years of Conservatives. That's why you
Yeah,
won, you moron. Like,
yeah, I know. I know. It's like he doesn't understand why.
15 years of austerity is enough. But
Anyway,
Australian
I
numbers.
thought this was interesting to do
Yeah.
for Australia too, because we're not really talking about Australia much in this session, but I just thought it was worth looking at. So 18.4 million voters and 60,000 in Labor, members in Labor, 50,000 in Liberal, and 15,000 in the Greens. So really, again, really, really small numbers who are setting the policy agenda in each of those three parties.
Yeah. And also, and you look at the Liberals, I think a lot of the the climate candidates and independents have taken from the Liberal Party. So,
Well, and they don't have members, so we can't
no,
gauge the
yeah,
interest in them. So it would be interesting if they could form a party, as we've said before.
please God. But to your point too, like this whole thing about breaking and things breaking and not coming back together as they once were. So it's interesting to see, this idea of the swinging voter who is going to be purely voting on policy, not on party. It would be it's interesting. I really want them to fall. I keep tweeting and blue sky, well, not tweeting, blue skying and posting all the time, going third party, come on, independents. I mean, what they're doing already is fantastic. So we just need a viable third party for Pete's sake.
Hmm.
But anyway, sorry.
And I don't think it's the Greens.
I don't think it's the Greens either, for sure.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I thought was worth, since we did that deep dive into the Murdoch News Corp media octopus, global octopus, in our last session, I thought it was just worth mentioning that the Jewish Council of Australia, who are very concerned about the genocide in Gaza, have had their news media advertising blocked by News Corp. So they want to speak out, and they've had all their ads cancelled. So they paid their money and they were rejected by News Corp. And I just thought that was worth pointing out.
And this gentleman here, he actually did the post. I shared his post at the time too, saying, we do want, this is the ad, we've placed it. And I think 2 or 3 days later, they ran the ads. Oh,
Hmm.
sorry. But at the time, if he hadn't have done that post, Kate, nothing would have changed.
Yeah,
Disgusting. Disgusting.
yeah.
And so let's
But
go critical
that's
thinking. The reason they did that is that they want to have this narrative of Jews against Israel against Gaza, Jews against Muslims. They want to
hmm.
continue that battle, you
Yeah,
know.
and they're trying to deny, and this goes back to this whole News Corp agenda, where
Mm,
they have this specific agenda that they want the world to look a certain way, and things like this that don't align to that worldview, they will try to suppress
yeah,
and squash, which is evil. Anyway,
really
and
bad.
you know, and since that happened, this flotilla that's been
Mm,
traveling towards Gaza has now been attacked illegally by Israel in international waters, and the foreign nationals have been taken captive,
including
and
five
they've all
Australians.
really, hmm?
Including 5 Australians.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One guy from a quite poor country, literally sold his car to join this flotilla. Like, it was really moving stuff,
Well,
and
Greta
really good
Thunberg
on
is
them for
on there.
taking a stake.
Yeah. And if you don't know, the flotilla is they've got massive ships and they're taking food and medical equipment to Gaza because they haven't been able to get food through. So, a massive international group of people trying this. This is the third time, the third flotilla,
Yeah,
second or third
yeah.
flotilla. So, yeah, they keep getting blocked. But this is the first time they've been taken off the ship. Sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. It's just I haven't had much sleep this week. Apologies. Very rude. Sorry. Just on Gaza too, it's so important to get the news and information from very independent sources and not look at News Corp or the like. Very,
Yeah,
very independent.
yeah.
So talking about independent media, Kate, the UK
So
independent media list.
just
Nice.
we're always talking about Australian media, but this we talked a lot about the UK here, so I thought it would be good to share some independent news media
Yep.
uh, from the UK that are all good. And these are all ones that I look at fairly regularly. Poor Herbie.
I'm so sorry. Jason's come home. And this is how he does not do this when I come home, just so you know, everybody. So, of course, when the love of his life comes home, he's got to bark and jump on him. Apologies, everybody. This is real life.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well, yeah.
Kate. Yeah, these are the canary. I really like the canary. I don't know whether it's just because I like anything with the name canary in it, but it's these are really good publications. The Independent is a must read, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think
and
no
the
double
the
down.
Bylon Times, I like them. That's Mike Goldsworthy's outlet,
Yes.
and they've got local area sub outlets across the UK, which
Yep.
is really good, addressing that local news desert thing that we mentioned in the previous episode.
Yeah.
So, that's really good. So that's an interesting model. So maybe we need to do a deep dive into the new independent world media world.
I think so because I think there's so many great, and I think so many people don't see it till we share it. And like I know I get that fed back a lot. A lot of people I know were like me, not really consuming much of it. When you see it, you go, oh, it's given to you in really smart, respectful ways too, so you don't feel like you've been having crap shoved down your throat. And women's health, of course, girls and men who love women. Um, this is really important that we share a lot of the medical information out there. You research on endometriosis, Kate.
Yep, yep. So came out very recently, and it is an understanding that endometriosis is very closely linked to autoimmune and autoinflammatory diseases, including multiple sclerosis,
Yeah.
which is a really important thing to understand. And the other thing that is an important thing that they're starting to understand is endometriosis is an entire body disease. It's not just your uterus.
Yes.
So, it can be in any part of your body. And that understanding is starting to shape things. But this is really exciting research because it's the first time we've had research that connects all of these autoimmune and autoinflammatory diseases. So
And
they're,
it's something that's very unrespected in medical professions. Women, when they go with endometriosis, are told take a Panadol, lie down, take the day off work, it'll pass, have a baby, have a
mm,
hysterectomy. Like it's so there's no real solutions or I don't want to say cure, you don't need a cure, but this totally makes sense, doesn't it? Because it is an inflammation and it is your body turning against itself.
mm.
Wow, amazing medicine is just keep on to it, guys. Good news. This one you make me laugh. I have to say, Kate found the last two. I promise you, I will turn up for the next two. This is so cute.
You've got me watching
They've
out for
got
good
like
news.
straight.
So
I love
Amsterdam
this.
has all these canals. I hadn't, and I never really realized how many canals they have, but they have a lot.
Yeah,
And apparently, cats keep drowning in them. So they're building tiny staircases to let the cats and other animals exit the canals and not drown, which I think is
I
very
love
sweet.
that. And a community or a culture that respects animals and animal life as much as human life is a very healthy, mature, evolved culture. So well done, Amsterdam. It's really cute. I love that. And once again, we need to say if you don't want to get those revolting SMS texts when we go into an election that you did not consent to, please sign our petition. So when you see it, sign it and please share it. We got to get ready for the next election because it'll be here before we know it. And this way we can make sure that our voices get heard. So please
We
sign up.
don't want those nasty SMSs. No.
No
So
way.
this was a much shorter episode than
Can't
last
believe
time.
it. We did well done, us. So, but still packed with information and really important just to bring us up to speed with what's happening in the world. And we really do encourage you to connect with us. Let us know what you think. Let us know if there's topics that you want to know about, or if you've got something that you want to check. We'd love to know what you're thinking so that we can tailor our content more to you. And these are all the ways you can connect to us. Um, I don't know which side of the screen it's on, so have a look. We're in the socials. Please like, share, and sign up to our pages because that helps us then get the content out and hang around longer. Thank you, Kate. That was brilliant.
Always a pleasure. Lovely to
Always
see you,
my
Nancy.
pleasure.
Bye,
You're the
everyone.
best. See you.